The point of no return is the point at which the character can no longer return to the normal world they know. They must take the leap into the world that the story has set up for them. This leap must be the direct decision of the main character to set off the movie's chain of events. Let's look at 3 points of no return within the romance genre, starting with the proposal. For context, Sandy B has convinced her assistant, Ryan Reynolds, to marry her in order to avoid deportation. They have traveled to Alaska in order to solidify this ruse and convince the immigration officer of their relationship by telling Ryan's family. When they arrive, there is a surprise party full of friends and family, which increases the drama because instead of just telling Ryan's family, they are essentially telling the entire town. Up until this point, the driver of the story has been Sandy B. Now, with increased tension between his father and him,
You show up here after all this time with this woman you hated, and now she's your
We
girlfriend?
just got here. Can we wait 2 seconds before we throw the kitchen sink at each other?
Ryan's character decides to take the wheel and begin driving. First, he tells his father, then he moves away and announces the news to the whole house.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a very important announcement to make. Margaret and I are getting married.
So sorry.
That's okay. It's wash and wear.
Sandy B isn't even in the room for that. This is causing her to react instead of act. Sandy B and Ryan's roles have been reversed in this point of no return, launching us into the second act of the film. Now let's move on to 10 Things I Hate About You. In this classic, Joseph Gordon-Levitt likes Larissa Olenek and will do almost anything to go out with her. Larissa and Julia Stiles' father have a strict no dating policy up until the point of no return.
Bianca can date. When she does.
When Larissa complains about the no dating rule, her father changes it, allowing her to date, but only if Julia dates. This leads Larissa to turning down Joseph Gordon-Levitt and telling him about the rule. Naturally, he decides to help her, bringing in David Krumholtz in to devise a plan. The plan? To find someone who will go out with Julia so Joseph can go out with Larissa. They find their man in Heath Ledger, who promptly rejects them. They pivot and bring in Andrew Keegan, who convinces Heath to go out with Julia for money. Their father's change to the dating rule prompts Joseph's decision to devise and carry out this plan, knocking over the first domino and plunging our characters into the second act at the point of no return. Now to our final example, Tangled. Rapunzel has been stuck in the tower all her life when Flynn Rider enters the picture. His arrival comes just after a fight with her mother about Rapunzel leaving the tower to go see the floating lights. Flynn is in control of his own narrative up until the point where Rapunzel knocks out and hides him.
Alone at last.
When her mother returns, she attempts to use Flynn as a way to show her mother what she's capable of. Before she can do this, her mother shouts that Rapunzel will never leave this tower, ever. Rapunzel is shocked and decides to keep the truth from her mother. She formulates a plan to get Flynn Rider to help her see the floating lights and proceeds to carry out that plan. Flynn tries to take back control by using his famed smolder, an obvious good looks on Rapunzel, but she is the one driving the story. This is the point of no return. She has left the tower and can never return the same. These are 3 examples of why the point of no return is so important. Once you've done your setup and your exposition, you need to get your story moving. You have to put your character into a situation where there is no easy decision. This allows your character to be the one to make the decision that leads us into the second act.